Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Friday, October 10th. I already did a voiceover that I think about as something subject matter that's very important, dear to all. I don't know, that you'll hear in a moment. But I thought I would do a pre-introduction because I thought about this last night, and I've said it maybe without emphasizing it, but I want to emphasize it here. So, if you do not believe the official story, this guy that Trump is already wanting to give the death penalty to, right? And Erika Kirk has forgiven. If you don't believe that this guy, whatever his name is, Tyler Robinson, if you don't believe Tyler Robinson is guilty, you believe that this is some kind of a cover up, then Trump is completely compromised and is a part of that. He's a part of this whole Charlie Kirk fiasco. Let's say Charlie Kirk is alive. Let's say this is just all bullshit and holograms and whatever it is. Then he's deceiving the American people and particularly Charlie Kirk's audience, right? He's again going after Republicans. He did this already. Most of us should know by now that Trump's bullshit, its fake assassination attempt was fake. Like it was a WWE style thing. I mean, just the way it's played out since then. Like, when they pull one of these events off, you can tell by how it ages. And this thing didn't age well. Neither has Trump in terms of his presidency. So, whatever the options are, if Charlie Kirk was murdered, Trump was involved in the murder, if that's actually what happened. And he now wants to commit another murder by killing some kid that obviously didn't do it, right? So he's murdering American citizens if they're going to actually give this kid the death penalty or lock him in prison for life for something he didn't do. If that actually is part of it, I don't know. If that kid's just, I don't know what they do with these patsies, right? Like most of the times, the patsy's just a dead body. Like Trump's assassination attempt, there was a dead body, and what do we know about that guy? I don't even remember his name, right? What do we know about that guy? Almost nothing. So it could be some corpse they take out of the morgue or some CIA. So they raise them on these CIA mind control farms or whatever it is, right? So who knows how this whole thing goes? But either way, Trump is 100% one of them, right? You can no longer consider Trump one of you if you're a Republican because he's involved in this thing, right? Unless you believe the official story, then Trump's just a worthless piece of shit that's totally involved. So Trump could have killed this kid on its own, but Israel couldn't have killed him without the U.S. government and Trump's government and Trump backing them, right? Trump didn't need Israel to make this thing happen if it was all about him, right? But Israel definitely need Trump. So let's say Israel kills Charlie Kirk, which again, like, doesn't make all that much sense, but because they're, whatever. I mean, certainly they don't want to lose a parasite doesn't want to lose hold of its host. And maybe Charlie Kirk turning on Israel could have made that happen. I mean, the left is already hating Israel. We all see that stuff. So there's motive there. Plenty of motive to go around. Trump has motive because it was a huge distraction with the Jeffrey Epstein thing. And so, plus Israel owns him. So, there's that. So, but if that's the story you believe in, or you're thinking that's what happened, well, Trump's the villain here because he's the president, supposed to protect American citizens from foreign governments. As he's serving up an assassination of a guy who helped him get elected, right? People are crediting Charlie Kirk with the Trump win. And if Trump served him up, he's covering this thing up, and it has to be, unless you believe in the official story that Tyler Robinson did this on his own. Like it's just, a silly story. And Trump had that big, the funeral and all these things. So, no matter what this is, let's say there's no dead bodies, like there's just all actors and it's just performative. It's an illusion perpetrated on the American people. It's a deception, which Trump is clearly willing and able to do. And it's a deception just like his fake assassination attempt that's to target the people who are going to vote for him, people who are his supporters, more than anybody else. He's willing to lie to his supporters, right? That's, he's willing to deceive the people who are, mostly, I mean, the people that have supported him and done so much for him as a, donating money and getting the word out, and his supporters, and he's just willing to like deceive them in ways that's bad for them. Like he's just a worthless piece of shit. Like he has no respect or feels any obligation to the people that support him, just like all these other politicians. But with Trump, it's always worse. He's always more selfish, and he's willing to fleece them more. Like he's just greedy and so narcissistic about all these things, right? The only thing that you could say that in his defense would be he's so fucking oblivious. He's so uncurious about what's going on. He's so disconnected that he knows nothing about any of this thing. But we know that's not true because he's involved with the whole whatever it is. But that would be him being completely handled and kept out of the loop. And then he's just an auto sign. He's an auto pen like Joe Biden. And so like the best case scenario for him is he's so out of it that he's another Joe Biden. And there are people running the government without him. And this is the case to some extent because Trump doesn't like to read legislation. He's not curious. He doesn't like to get to the bottom of things. He doesn't want to be bothered. So, that's another piece of this thing. But that also compromises Turning Point USA and Erika Kirk because they're all involved with this. That everybody who's pushing this official story, that everyone else is like, what the fuck? This thing is so fake, right? And so, all the people who are now right-wing conservatives that believe the government's out to get you all the time, and, now it's Trump's government. It's Trump's FBI, like I said earlier in another, video. So it's him. Like it's Trump, and now it's Turning Point, and it's the guy's wife who are shackled up, right, if this is being done by Israel, and there's no really other explanation, right? Like, did anybody else come out and say, we didn't kill Charlie Kirk? Like, just Israel. Like, like, no other country and nobody, like, there's no other organization, right? Other than there's two suspects here. There's Israel, and there's Tyler Robinson. Like, Tyler Robinson, not a very believable suspect. There's a patsy. And then there's Israel. And maybe there's some other explanation. Maybe Charlie Kirk. Maybe it's prosthetics. Maybe it's a hologram. Maybe the guy is still alive. Who knows what it is, right? But his wife and his business partners and his employees and the people close to him, they're all pushing a narrative that everyone else knows is fake as fuck, right? So, like, all their supporters and all these people. And Trump is, like, the key person. So if any of those people, if Trump stood up for Charlie Kirk, like the memory of him, or his wife, or Turning Point, or a number of these people who are, supposed to be Charlie Kirk lovers, stood up for him, right? I mean, look at just the stuff that Candace Owens is doing. Let's say she's doing this organically. She's not compromised. This isn't part of a show to keep people, whatever it is. Then just what she's doing is enough to, destroy this narrative. But if any of these official people stood up for him and said, this is all, this is all bullshit. This kid didn't do it. This is a patsy here, and we want fucking justice for our friend or our husband or whatever it is, right? And Trump's, whatever these people are. So these people are all deceivers, and they're doing whatever they're doing to Charlie Kirk and his memory, but they're really deceiving the people that are their biggest supporters. Anyways, let me show you this one video clip here.
There is like so much energy online, on social media. Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk, Charlie Kirk. And do I think we should find out who killed him? Yes. Is it obvious that it's not Tyler Robinson? Yes. But all of this energy, all of this emotional energy is being harvested from us. And what if all of these social media influencers were talking about the full-on agrarian collapse that we're having, where we've lost 170,000 small family farms, and we're not going to be able to even have food sovereignty because it's completely being stolen from us? Or what about the money slave system, digital IDs and programmable money, whether you want to call it a digital dollar or a CBDC, is coming for us? What if everybody was awakening each other? Waking up. We need to wake up if we want to be able to have our children have a life that is any semblance of the life that we have had. And so I just want to say, yes, this is a big deal, but we got to pull our hearts and our minds and start saving humanity, because all of the ways that we are distracted is keeping us from coming together and saying, you know what, I do want small family farms to exist. You know,
All right, so you get the idea here. Let me switch back to a voiceover. So when I do a clip, right, this is a clip I use this app called ScreenFlow, right? And when I do something on Instagool, you can see this is an Instagool thing here. The volume, so you hear her volume.
digital dollar or a CBDC is coming for us.
You can see it down here, which I didn't really kind of notice. And you see my volume.
You know,
All right, so you get the idea here. So her volume is much louder. I just want to show you before I respond to her thing here. This is just a little, what it is to be in my world. So I didn't realize I can change her volume, right, to match up my volume. Usually I had to do it in Premiere Pro, which is a lot harder because I have to do it with maybe 5 clips, or if I'm talking, if I'm responding to the person. So Instagram doesn't allow you to adjust the volume, so you can sort of match it up. And I just discovered this the other day, and it probably could have saved me probably 24 hours in a year. I don't know how much substantial time over a long period of time. It would have saved me some hours of thing. So, and I could just change the volume here so you can see the volume's going down there, and now it'll match up better here.
keeping us from coming together and saying, you know what, I do want small family farms to exist. You know,
All right, so you get the idea. You see our volume, our voice levels match up, and then I can just when I render this, so just something there. It's not a big deal, but it's something I thought would be interesting. But anyways, let's get back to what she was saying here. I don't disagree with anything that woman's saying about any of this stuff that she's saying, but it's completely unrealistic, right? Like she's talking about people like they will do what she says. The majority of people, like everybody on some levels knows what's going to come. It's going to happen. Well, first of all, she's wrong because she's under the belief that so many people are that people can save this system, right? And it can't be saved. Like you can't change the nature of the system. You can't go from a debt-based system to a healthy, natural, God-based economy that's based in truth and not debt. Like you can't just say, all right, forget about all the debt. Forget about all the fake money you have. Like imagine if you said to everybody, yeah, your fake money is totally worthless. We're going with a new system. Or you can trade your fake money in for something real, something substantial, like something that's based in, a real, not debt, right? Like an opposite of a debt economy. What do you do with the debt? What do you do with all the wealth that people think they have? The monopoly game is over. You now don't. All your money is fake, right? So you can't do that. Like you can't change that, the debt part of it, right? There's, people are in like $1 trillion of credit card debt. Like you can't just erase all those things. There's an economy here. There's a world structure. There's a belief system, and money is a big part of it. Like think about the role that money plays in your life, in everybody's lives. You can't just come out and say, "Oh, that's fake. Let's start something real." And so you can't make that debt-based system be anything that it is right now. You can't reduce it. You can't stop it from growing. Like debt is always going to be. When debt is wealth, then the debt grows, right? Until it's now like two quadrillion dollars. Just America alone is $1 quadrillion of debt. I mean, people don't even talk about quadrillion dollars. They talk in trillions. And trillions is a crazy amount, right? Trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million, right? There's a time where there wasn't any billionaires in the world. Like the first billionaire, whatever that happened, 1940, like it's years and years ago. But now there's trillionaires, and there's a $250 of debt just for America alone, and those numbers are like crazy. If you see, like, I had these images somewhere. I'm not going to go get them, but they're just, how, if you stacked up all this money, where it would go, and it's crazy amounts. It's like crazy amounts of debt. And so the first piece is you can't change the system, but the second piece is more important. You can't change people, and everyone knows the collapse is coming. Like, everybody senses it. There's some level of knowledge. The majority of people have chosen just to die. They're just going to give up because there's going to be massive population die off, and a lot of those people are destined for death no matter what they do. They don't have a chance. It's not like just because they woke up that they're not going to die, right? When there has to be massive population reduction for anything to work. There's going to have to be that, and there's going to have to be that just in general because our population centers are affecting the world. You can't have big giant cities of tens of millions of people. That doesn't affect the whole environment, the ecosystem, and the psychology of these people, the overpopulation in these population dense areas. There's just too many people, and we're at our maximum population, so there has to be a die off, and so that's going to happen. And these are things nobody can change. Like, you can't just handpick and decide who lives and who dies. I mean, the controllers want to do that, but that's not part of it. So, we're at a turning point in terms of the collapse of the system. Again, I'm not, I use turning point because of Charlie Kirk. Just, we're at that, we're at a choice point in terms of, like, are we going to go up or are we going to go down? Because when there's a collapse of civilization, then people have to figure out, are we going to redeem ourselves and go to a higher level? Or are we still going to stay these self-indulgent, egotistical, narcissistic people? Like, that's the choice. And the choice isn't going to happen now. No one's going to make that choice now. They don't have to, right? They're going to have to be forced to make that choice. And so, like, what the woman said is true, but what she's missing a key point that, nothing can change. And so this isn't just about being a distraction. People are interested in what they're interested in because they don't want to have a future if it doesn't involve the system. They don't see a future for themselves outside of the system that dominates and controls their existence, right? That they're 100% dependent on. The majority of people are like, if the system goes, I mean, they haven't even done this consciously, but it's there. They've made their fucking choice, right? They're just gonna completely give up. That people just can't think about, how hard it is. And I can speak from this as a homesteader. I've been homesteading now for so many years, and it's a hobby farm. I'm not, but I've done a lot of different things, and I have a lot of different skills. Okay, and I'm okay at it. I'm not like a great homesteader, a great farmer, but I've worked at it, I've developed it, and I have a sense of it, and I like growing food, and I can say how hard it is compared to having a specific job, a specific task, and getting money and paying for everything else, and how easy our system is, and the kind of tools you can get, and the kind of you go in the store and we just order stuff on Amazon, how easy it is to get things, and it's going to be a real bummer when people don't have that. I mean, it's going to be an adjustment that most people are not going to make, and I've already made that adjustment partially because I've done this other stuff, and I really enjoy doing it, and I look forward to doing it. But as you get older, it's harder and harder. And if you didn't grow up with the routine, and you didn't grow up with that kind of work ethic and that kind of mentality, and and even farmers today, everyone has a system. Like, everyone has the fallback. Even if you go off the grid, you can always come back and go to Walmart or order something off of Amazon, right? You can always go get a job for a little bit and get some money, and then go, and then reboot and go back into the homesteading thing. And so, it'll be an adjustment, and the people that are capable will survive. Some people will survive, and everyone else will just scrap out and curl up in the fetal position and wait for the angels to take them away. So that's for those listening to this on the Journey series, this woman was talking about the food crisis and small farms and all the other things, the fiat currency and all the things that truthers have known, and thinking that people are going to solve it. And if you can't solve it, I say this all the time. If you're a person that's going to go out and put a microphone in your face and go make videos and do things, why do you think that if you can't solve it, that all these sheeple-like people who are, just spectators who may listen to you, most of them don't even care, don't want to listen to you, but the ones that are sheeple, you're waiting for the sheeple to wake up. Like if the sheeple wake up, they'll figure out something to do. They're sheeple. Like you're the one who's awake. You're the one who's like, you don't have a solution. Your solution is to wake all the sheeple up. That's your fucking solution. That Alex Jones fucking bullshit Infowar idea. That waking up the most passive, do nothing, lay about motherfuckers, right? Like that's gonna solve things. It's silly, right? If you don't have a solution, don't expect the people who are most asleep and the people who could care less about it, the people who are most incapable. They're going to be the ones you're waiting, or for the controllers. The controllers are the worst, right? The people with the money and the power. They could do things right now. They're the worst of the worst. They're the worst in terms of their morality and these other things. So anyways, let me get into the voiceover that I put out last night. All right, greetings, brothers and sisters. So at the end of my last video, I was going to include this part of the voiceover. It just was half an hour, and I was just wiped out. I've taken a break since then, but it just seemed like it needed to be two different things. So I want to, greetings, brothers and sisters. Did I say that already? It's Thursday, October 9th. This is the beginning of the video for Friday, October 10th. So I got a kind of an old, little bit funny story about my dad that I thought about today when I was thinking about religious indoctrination and wanting the younger generation to be better than your generation, right? Which is clearly not the case. And so when I was about 25, I didn't see my parents probably in 2, 3 years, 5 years, I don't know. I had moved to Atlanta and the Virgin Islands, and then I moved back to Connecticut. Maybe it was before that. It was actually before that. And so I was just done with my second attempt at college. I was in my second attempt at college. I hadn't seen my parents. They were down in Florida. I was in school in a year in Florida. Then my parents retired from there, and I went back up to Connecticut. And I went to visit my parents. So my parents moved to Florida, but every summer they would come up north, and they had a house sitting gig. There was a house that was people their age in kind of around our old neighborhood in West Hartford, Connecticut. And, kind of a bunch of old houses and, an old quiet neighborhood in a pretty affluent suburb, like a middle class to upper middle class suburb. And my parents were able to stay there because these other people traveled somewhere for the summer. And so they stayed there every year, and somehow I maybe didn't see them the first couple of years. And I went over and, I had dinner with my parents, and we had these like TV trays, and we're sitting there. I didn't see my parents like 3, 4 years. And we're sitting there with TV dinners, watching TV. My mom was not a good cook because she was like allergic to bay leaves. She would go to a restaurant and order a plain piece of chicken cooked in butter. I mean, that was, like a chicken breast. Like she couldn't eat almost every spice. She was allergic to tomatoes. She had a very delicate constitution. And she was really worried about salmonella, so she cooked everything so it was dry and kind of burn. And I didn't realize how bad it was because I didn't care when I was a kid. I never complained about the food. But then when you go out in life and you see there's a lot more food. Like you see better food as I got older. And, they had some like Breyer's ice cream bullshit. And we're sitting there and we're watching this show called Dave. I think it was about some guy who was a real life reporter in Miami, something, Florida, or something like that. My parents were from Boca Raton. It's like a sitcom. And, we hadn't seen each other like 3 or 4 years. And I'm like, and they had a scene where their family was sitting around the dinner table all talking. And I said to him, we could do that. Like, we could like turn off the TV and do that. Like, I hadn't had a TV in years. And I was kind of like dumbfounded. You know, when you see your parents and you haven't seen them in a while, and you've been an adult now, living on your own, and you realize how fucked up your life was and how fucked up your family is. Like I was having one of those moments, right? Like, you know, they were just, I was like, this is your life? You know, they were zombies. Like they were dumb fucks. They were just, you know, going through life with their heads in the sand. You know, they're just sheeple. And, you know, and I didn't know about sheeple then, but I could see they weren't alive, right? They were just walking around in a stupor. And I don't know if it was that time or the next time I saw them there. So my dad takes me outside, I must have said something to whatever that he felt like he had to tell me I was a piece of shit, right? And so, you know, my dad and I are walking around the street, and he's kind of talking to me about, you know, all this shit. Like it's just like a child. He's like a child talking to me, like childish complaints, you know. And I can just I just see all this stuff. I've known all this stuff about him. Like I know like what a loser he is. You know, I think he was talking about how selfish I was and all these things. And he had said this shit when I was a kid. And, you know, I listened to it because I didn't know any better or whatever. But, you know, I know better now and I could see through him. And I know all this stuff about what a, like, fucking coward he was, what a loser. He just didn't take his chance at life, right? You know, he could have been more than he was. He was smart, but he chose, like, safety over taking risks. And he wanted to be a novelist. He wanted all these things, but he didn't really work for any of them. He was kind of bitter and angry and narcissistic, and he's kind of a little bitch. And he's telling me what a piece of shit I am, and I'm like, are you serious? Do you really want to have this conversation? You know, I still have potential. I might be a piece of shit now, but I still have potential. And I just tell him everything I know about him, like all the negative stuff. And he starts he left his fucking body. Like he started to wobble and shit. Like he's like 70 years old. And he's like wobbling because I just like fucking knocked his soul out of his body with the truth of what a fucking loser he is, right? You know, you come across people in life who don't have the capacities to self evaluate. And they pick fights with people. And, you know, oftentimes it's people that are carrying them, right? Who are, you know, I said this to my son, my wife and I went away for vacation, and he took my car out and wrecked it. He took a trip 2 hours away to another state without permission, and he had an accident and totaled the car. And you know, I came back and I was like, you know what? I'm the only thing separating you from homelessness, right? Like, get your attitude straight. He had me in his phone my name was Dad Loser, right? He put me in, you know, that was the contact name. And I said, you know, either change my name or I'm not paying your fucking phone bill, right? Not that like it bothered me. I mean, you know, the the failure of my family was already self-evident, so it wasn't like that was, you know, that just was, you know, adding to it. But I'm like, you know, you ungrateful POS, right? You know. But I said this thing about, you know, I'm the only thing keep separating you from homelessness. You'd be out in the streets and, you know, whatever. And he kind of got it, right? My daughter was going through a similar thing and she didn't. Like, it was kind of a very telling time in our relationships. But, and, you know, I think parents like coddle their kids too much and don't just tell them the truth and whatever's there. So I wasn't like intent in telling my dad what a loser and piece of shit he was, and really wasn't any of my business at this point. But he, you know, he asked for it and I told him, and he was like, I mean, he was walking around like he was like out of his body, like he was having a fucking, like he was glitching out, like he wasn't, he was just waddling around. You know, I recognized my parents were incompetent. You know, when I was 4 years old, my dad was walking around Elizabeth Park Pond. It was a park that would play kind of a significant part of my life. We were on the border of Hartford and West Hartford, and the Hartford side was where, you know, you see these old cities where there's these giant mansions when the city was in its heyday. You know, the mayor's house, and you know, and on the other side of Elizabeth Park was that part of Hartford. And we lived in a big 3-story house. My dad was a guidance counselor, so we weren't rich, but, you know, it was, I mean, a different time in America. And, you know, my dad took me around this park. I was wearing this little, I mean, a very vivid memory. I'm 4 years old. And there's a lily pad that's like rolled up, like it's, you know, it's not unfolded yet. And I go, "That's a frog," to my dad. I'm wearing this little, like one of those, like little red shorts and a little red T-shirt with buttons on the, like on the side, like like snap buttons on the side. I mean, everything's very vivid. And my dad and I are arguing, and my dad goes, "Well, why don't you grab it and see?" So he takes my hand. I'm holding his hand, and I'm leaning over to grab the lily pad, and he lets me go, and I fall into the fucking water, right? And like my head's wet, it's dirty pond water. And I look up, and my dad's laughing, and I have like an adult experience. Like, my soul raises my level of consciousness to where I'm like an adult, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's a total fucking loser. You gotta take care of yourself. Like he's laughing, and I'm like, not that he was like, he was abusive in his way or whatever, but he was mostly like, good to me. Like, I mean, I didn't have, it wasn't like those kind of things. It's just that he was an incompetent piece of shit, right? Like, I'm like, oh my god, you got a loser for a fucking dad. It was like, some part of myself was, like my adult self was saying, you better look out for yourself. This motherfucker can't do anything for you. Years later, my dad got mad at me. I did something, and he started hitting me with a belt. That there was like this, you know, uh, he didn't. I don't remember other times he's did this to me, but I don't know what it was. And he hits me with a belt, and I look at his face, and he's trying to be like a tough guy, and I'm like, oh, you're a fucking pussy, and I start laughing, and he hits me again, and I start laughing even more, and now he's like freaked out. I was like, my parents knew I was smarter than them. I went to some like I went to this Yale University test because I was dyslexic. The people thought I was like, I had some learning disability because I made my B's and my D's backwards, and so there was some sense that I had some some learning disability, which I mean, it's been like an asset for me, but back then it wasn't. And I didn't even know. So we go to this Yale thing, and I remember there's this weird guy with a long ponytail. I went there and I took some tests, and my dad, who always used to embarrass me, I was a very shy kid, and my dad we go into a mall, and he starts singing and being loud, and he would ask me to order at like McDonald's, and I was too shy, and he'd like make me speak. He was just embarrassing, right? And so like he always embarrassed me, but I was in this room, and I knew there was a two-way mirror. I knew my dad was watching me, and maybe I heard his voice or I knew something there. So, and he had taught me. He was very encouraging for me to swear. He brought me to Blazing Saddles, some stupid Mel Brooks movie, which I recently rewatched. I was surprised at how racist it was and how fucked up it was, and not funny it was. I knew it was not funny, but I'm looking at him through the mirror, the glass mirror, and I'm giving him the finger, and he was very upset because he was behind there with professional people, and his 7-year-old son's giving him the finger, right? But I took these tests, and it showed that I had like a really high IQ, and I used to play card games with my parents, and I would tell them what were board games, and they just were so slow mentally. I would have to tell them like, my parents weren't dumb, but they just and just indecisive, and I'd be like, no, this is what you should do here. My dad used to joke that they should just put up two cardboard figures because I was basically making all the moves for all the people because it was taking them forever. So at some point my parents figured out that I was smarter than them. Like I didn't know. Like I didn't, and you're a kid, you're kind of oblivious and you're not developed. And you're just, you're unconscious of pretty much most of the shit's going on with your family. But, as you get older, you start to see how fucked up things are, especially when you leave your home and you're out on your own. And you start seeing other families and other people, and or whatever it might be. Like my dad had boxes full of Playboys upstairs, and like all the pages were stuck together, which is and I was like, didn't really know when I was 7 when I found them, but when I got older, I'm like, oh, what a you fucking gross fuck, right? Like this, you start having a lack of respect for them as adults. Like when you realize when you get to their age, and my dad was 43, but when I got to be an adult and the kind of stuff that they were engaged in, the kind of life they were leading, I had a similar thing with my mom when she sent me to school and had some sort of a cold sore on my lip. And my mom put a big wad of, like, some kind of Neosporin or something, some kind of, clear gel that looked like a booger, and sent me to school as a 7, 8 year old kid. And I walk into school, and my friends or kids at school are like, "Hey, you got a fucking booger," and I was like, "All right." I can't trust my parents, like, just in general. You get the sense that you have to survive out there on your own. And, like, my parents were, I mean, feeding me and, providing a place to live. But in terms of life decisions and navigating through life, I knew they were going to be no help. Like, I couldn't talk to them about things. I couldn't get advice for them. And that just, that played out over years. Like, there was this day I used to sit out on the roof there's these various roofs of the house, different layers of roofs. And there's this outdoor porch and then upstairs porch. And I used to go there. No one else went in. There was a storage room. And I used to go and sit on the roof. And I was like going to run away from home. And I started thinking through it. And I'm like, maybe 10 years old. Not that anything was happening that I needed to run away. I just like fucking, I just didn't want to be there. Like it wasn't like I was some horrific situation. But I thought about it and I'm like, like I kind of understood how much money I had and what that would do and where was I going to sleep and, what happens when and I knew that I couldn't do it, right? I knew that I was just like stuck there. And like I said, well, why not? I might as well just make the most of it because it was a good thing for me to go through like a mental exercise and realizing like this is, I had to be there by choice, right? But I'm saying all this because, there's a point where you can pass by, ascend over. You go to a whole higher level than your parents, the older generation. Like you can just kind of see through them. And, like people think about it as like you can kick your dad's ass or something like that. But that's like a silly way to look at it. There's this point where like you're just on a higher level of consciousness than your parents. And when you're a kid, that's not the case at all. Your parents are like gods to you when you're born, and they have to be. And you don't have any, unless your parents are just really pieces of shit. You don't even think about how sucky they are, right? You're just absorbing all your information for them. They're taking care of you, and especially in your initial years, the primary years of your life. And then as you start to get older, you start seeing some things and you start questioning some things, and then you turn into a preteen and a teenager, and you're just outright like, rebelling or whatever it is you're doing. But the reason this is significant and what I was talking about yesterday, that you have to keep on moving forward, right? Like there's people out there who are saying the same shit. The people who make videos, people who make truther videos, and some of them were just co-opted by Trump, and they fall for the same old sheeple bullshit. They claim to be awake, but they're not moving at all. They're still talking about the same old things. They're not, there's just the same, bullshit lines or whatever it is. And there's no sense of like evolution of consciousness, no sense of a greater understanding. Like whenever you do something as a job, you have to be getting better at it, because once you stop getting better at it, it's excruciating. It's dead. Like anything that isn't moving forward is dead. Now you're just checking the box because you're not developing. You're not, there's not some possibility of growth and development, right? And you see this with people in America. Like you get a job and people, they graduate from high school or college or whatever it is, master's degree, and then they stop researching, they stop growing, they stop developing. They're not looking to improve themselves. They're not, certainly the spiritual aspect and, and I'm going to get into the religious aspect of this thing. And, they just accept the mainstream narratives and their consciousness is just dim. This is why I call them dumb fucks, right? Because they're oblivious to the world, right? They're oblivious to all the lies, right? They don't want to know about any of it. They're just NPCs. They're playing they're a cog in the wheel, and they're not questioning anything. They're not learning, developing, or growing, and these types of things. So it's a good thing when the younger generation passes by rises above the older generation. That doesn't happen. It's going in the opposite direction. That's part of what I'm talking about here. But when the older generation stagnates, like you should at least have experience and wisdom there should be some development. You have these various milestones and stages in your life, and people stop reaching those milestones in our current civilization when they have kids. They when they get their job, like they don't reach these other milestones. There's levels of wisdom, and a lot of that comes from connecting to the divinity within you, having a relationship with God, having a relationship with nature, and observing and being able to see, things in other people and things in society. Developing your intuitional skills. And so, even though your brain is starting to go south on you, you're not as sharp as you used to be as the years pass, and you're physically not as sharp. You are developing on a spiritual level. You're getting closer to God. You're preparing for your death. You've accepted your life. You're grateful for your life. You're not bitter and feeling like you got robbed or wanting to go do it again and having regrets. Like you've accepted your failures. You've accepted you're humbled. You humble yourself for your successes, and you're now preparing for the transition out of your physical life, and you now have something on a different level to offer. Like when you need something technologically done, you hand your phone to your kids or your grandkids or whatever, and they go boop bop beep bip, and they fix your thing, and they try to explain it to you, and you're like, you don't know what the fuck they're talking about. But you should be able to offer them something else in terms of your life experience, right? You should have life experience, and your consciousness should be going in a certain direction. It should be expanding and not contracting. If we were, I took a break, so it's like 4 hours later, but I want to finish up the voiceover. If we, the way it was supposed to work or the way it should work is that, it gets easier and easier for each generation to assimilate information, right? That, we see this with technology, like I said before. Like the kids today are, because children's brains are developing and growing, and when they are engaged in something like interacting with technology, they get it so much quicker than we do as older people and adults and young adults, and the more flexible they are mentally. And you see this with something like, basketball or skateboarding, where, people were, there's a body of knowledge now, right? So there is all these different skills and moves and things that weren't available to the first generation of pioneers who started skateboarding or basketball players or something like chess, right, where there's been all this development and all these, innovations and different strategies and things like this. And so kids have all this access to more information, of course, with technological development. And so they're able to get to a level of playing chess or basketball or various types of instruments and things because there's more information, and human beings have been doing it longer. So there's this collective consciousness, a vat of knowledge and experience out there, and kids are able to move more quickly through the various stages, right? There's better teachers, and there's more teachers and more available dissemination of information. So that's like the way it should be, and it is in certain fields of activity, things that are pursued. People want to develop these skills, and there's money in it, there's fame in it, whatever it might be. But it hasn't happened in the fields of spirituality. There's a regression, right? There is a de-evolution. There's an idiocracy that's happened with spirituality, where people have developed materially in various ways, and there's more of a wide variety of skills and knowledge base in the material world, but people are, there's atrophy in the spiritual world, the field of spirituality, right? And so what I was talking about, this idea of someone can't die for your sins, and for people who've been indoctrinated with Christianity, that's a block. Even if they leave Christianity, like there's people who leave religion and they associate religion with God. And so they realize that their religion is full of shit, and they experience hypocrisy and all these things with their religion, and yet they're not able to move forward into spirituality because they associate religion with God. They're perhaps ready for the next step, but they're just not able to embrace it because they've been so prejudiced because their religion sucks, and they've had these various bad experiences with it or whatever else it is, right? And you see here in the problem exists in the truth community with people are able to see through the governmental bullshit, and they're able to see through the social things, and all the other aspects of this, their indoctrination. But when it comes to their religion, it's either they have some sort of anger and blockage because they've left the religion, or they're still indoctrinated in the religion. And there's this fear of going to hell or not being able to get into heaven and ostracization from their community and their families and things like this. And so it becomes difficult for them to ascend out of the kindergarten or nursery school that is their religion. But going with the voiceover, the last voiceover in my, the video I put up yesterday, which was entitled, let me pull it up here. It's Erika and TPUSA degrade martyr Charlie Shekels with nip slip video. And she fucking that's the title of my video. It's really sheep effing. Yeah, but so I got some I got some spiritual teachings in there. Some spiritual, whatever it is. But the one thing I want to say about this stuff for people who are Christian who listen to me and they're hearing something new and a different interpretation of Christ's life and what's important and his teachings that are important and the bullshit stuff of the religion that is counterproductive. You can always ask Jesus. Like I'm not for any of these things. I don't want people just to take my word for it. I'm not looking for people just to listen to what I have to say, take it as gospel, because no one needs that responsibility. I want the responsibility for thinking for other people. I disseminate the information that I got, generously and freely from the Sajmark system and through my own experiences. And, these things are supposed to flow out to other people, but it has to be something where, people, figure it out for themselves. But if you're a Christian person, you're hearing things and they kind of make sense, but you're a little bit, whatever, nervous about it because it's goes against your upbringing and what you've learned from a young age, you can always just pray to Jesus and ask him. In fact, like I used to say that all the time. I used to say that every time I talked about something like that. If you have any, whatever, just ask Jesus. You're connected to Jesus, you're a Christian. Ask God, I don't know, whatever it is, or whatever your beliefs are, because, you can get the information directly from the source as well. Everyone should develop some internal relationship with the divinity within them and praying to God and or whatever whatever you see as God is a way to have that happen. Anyways, I got to wrap that up. It's kind of late now here. My wife and I was watching this show, totally unrelated, but we were watching the Australian version of Love on a Spectrum. We really love those shows. Like it's one of my favorite shows, our favorite shows. We really enjoy the people and it's so much better than those like Bachelor shows. I mean, I can't even watch those shows. But it's about autistic people dating. And I really enjoy stuff from Australia. I like the accent. I just, we love they show a lot of pictures of the animal life, which, my wife and I are big into animals. We have a lot of, those things in common. But we were watching season 2 and there was a girl there on season 1 and she was dating a girl. Like she was, and then she showed up and started dating this guy. And we were like, oh, I think she was a lesbian when she was dating a girl. And then I said to my wife, I think she's just desperate sexual. And we both really cracked up. It's a new thing. It's like, they have pansexual and they have bisexual. And then there's desperate sexual. Anyways, let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so I always do a check every day of the 666th post from Miss Erika J. Kirk. She's disappeared, right? And I don't know if she realizes how bad she came off. I don't know what the comments are like. I don't know what her, the people within Turning Point, the fans of those people, right? But the two guys that are running the show are a disaster. 2 beta males sharing 1 testicle. We'll get into the comments today. I haven't read the comments from my video I put up last night yet either. But we'll do some comments at the end of this thing. And so she posted quite a bit on Instagram. Well, here, let's just refresh this here. It's not So, like, she's at this really disastrous situation where there's a 666 watch. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's doing it. But here she is crying, here, this stuff. I forgive him. This,
The young men who feel like they have no direction, no purpose, no faith, and no reason to live. The men wasting their lives on distractions, and the men consumed with resentment, anger, and hate. Charlie wanted to help them.
little dabble, do ya?
Them to have a home with Turning Point USA. And when he went onto campus, he was looking to show them a better path and a better life that was right there for the taking. He wanted to show them that.
He did. He wanted to. He showed him. Let's see what he wanted to show him.
My husband, Charlie, he wanted to save young men just like the one who took his life.
Again, no evidence. I mean, not circumstantial. Like, you can't convict people. Anyways.
That young man. On the cross, our Savior said,
What did our Savior say?
Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do.
What they do. What they do.
That man. That young man.
That young man. That young man. That young man. That young man. Honey. Yeah, honey. Yeah. I think she's going to forgive that young man. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, she's like really, she's building up to it. She sounds like she might forgive him. I kind of, I heard her about it, so I'm pretty sure that's what's happening here. But yeah, she's going to forgive him.
I forgive him.
Right. Woo! She did it. Woo! She fucking did it. Woo! All right. So she posted all this stuff, right, for years, like pretty much a post, every couple days. I mean, she's an Instagram person, and I mean, she might be supposedly grieving now, whatever, all that bullshit that happens with her, but she won't go 666, and so that's what's up. Okay, so this happened.
If they don't find them within the time frame.
Please.
Thank you, sir. Regarding Jared Kushner's role in the negotiations, can you explain a little bit about why he came on at the last minute? And then in regards to the WIC program that the Vice President mentioned, do you know when the funding that you promised through the tariff revenue will actually go through to communities? Because there's reports that WIC providers are actually starting to close down today.
Well, okay, let me just answer the Jared. So Jared's a very smart guy.
He's a very smart guy. And he's Jewish, plus he owns Park Avenue 666. So Jared Kushner was in charge of quite a bit of stuff with his Ivanka during Trump's first administration, but they bailed on him. Jared Kushner was like the devil. He he bought this Park Avenue 666, a building, where Monica, Erika Kirk won't go there, but Jared Kushner will. His dad was a convicted criminal that Trump pardoned. And he was the kind of guy he was described, when he would say things at a party like, some party where people would be meeting important people. And he would say, I'm done talking to you. I want to talk to somebody more important. Like he would say that right to people. Like he's just, some kind of autistic, whatever. But after Trump's first term, they saw Trump trending downwards, so they decided not to be a part of his government. Plus, they got $2 billion from the Saudi Arabians. Remember that deal that him and Ivanka had for whatever bullshit things they were doing. And so, he was like the non-crackhead version of Hunter Biden. But now he's come back with this, demonic deal with Israel. Now, Israel, I just saw, I was eating breakfast, and CNN was reporting how Israel is, the occupation force is saying to Gazans not to come back into these areas that they've targeted. And they're still bombing. They're still destroying buildings. So there's no ceasefire. So like it's actually just a bullshit thing. And, Trump is owned by these guys, maybe because of Epstein. But, Jared Kushner is not like he's like fucking the Grim Reaper here.
He did the Abraham Accords. As some people say, the Abraham, which I love the way that sounds, but he did the
Who says that? Your owners?
Abraham Accords. It was a great thing for big countries.
And Abraham, Abraham benefited.
Joined. If I were president, if the election would have been a correct election, which it wasn't.
An election where I always win.
You'd have every country in there. Maybe even Iran would have been in there, frankly. But you'd have every country in. Now, by the way, that's going to be filled up rather quickly. People want to join the Abraham Accords. And I put Jared there because he's a very smart person. And he knows the region, knows the people, knows a lot of the players. And the combination of him and Steve Witkoff and Marco and Cooper, who is, as I hear, has been fantastic, and others that were involved, J.D.
Okay, this piece of shit. All right, so Jared Kushner's back. Who's this E.T. looking motherfucker?
Safe and released from imprisonment and absurd mistreatment, but many of our comrades from Global Sumo Flotilla are not, and they need to be released now. But most importantly, we are not the story.
Wait, you're not the story? Like, you usually are the story, Greta.
Thousands of Palestinians are currently being held in Israeli dungeons without a trial, hundreds of which are children. Millions are living trapped under an illegal siege.
I mean, she was in prison because look at this horrible haircut they gave her. She's been
An apartheid state and occupation who are being systematically starved and bombed to pieces.
They're being bombed to pieces.
Basic societal infrastructure is being targeted and destroyed, and Palestinians are being systematically deprived of their very, very basic rights and means to survive, such as producing their own food, controlling their own territorial waters, and children being able to go to school. Do not...
You know how... I can't even go to school. Remember when she came at the UN, she was chastising everybody because I should be in school. But anyways, school's not so great, Greta. Greta's on the right side of this thing. Like Margie Taylor Greene and Greta agree on this. That's how bad things are. So you're seeing a unification. The unification of dopes.
How dare you!
You just got Greta rolled.
Here with more, FBI Director Kash Patel, beyond impressive. How do you have a 91% increase in such a short period of time? Does that mean that the last FBI was not working, or are they just working going after Trump?
It's really simple, Sean. The weaponization of law enforcement is
Look at this guy.
over.
It's not, oh my God. You're saying Trump isn't weaponizing law enforcement? He's rolling out the National Guard into places that are saying don't bring the National Guard here. Like it's fucking martial law, it's posse comitatus, it's all the things that, the founding fathers warned about. Like just stop, right? Remember when you said Jeffrey Epstein was definitely not committed suicide? And as soon as you became director of the FBI, you were like, yeah, he definitely did commit suicide. Remember that? Remember that thing? You crazy-eyed motherfucker.
people gave President Trump a mandate, and President Trump gave me, as his FBI director, a mandate as well. Go crush violent crime and defend the homeland. And when you let good cops be cops, like the cops in the FBI and the local and state police officers around this country, they do their job. They get the mission done. As you relayed these stats, this is just 8 months on the job, Sean. We are up double digits on every metric of consequence when it comes to crushing violent crime.
We're crushing the shit out of violent crime. We're just crushing it.
Finding kids, seizing fentanyl, arresting violent offenders. We haven't even gotten into our counterintelligence and counterterrorism work, which is ongoing at levels that this country has never seen
FBI
before.
wins. We're winning like all over the place.
But that's the beauty of.
And what about Charlie Kirk's killer? Have you gotten him? Did you get his killer? Because it seems like you got some guy who, like, didn't do it. And like, what about Charlie Kirk? Are you questioning violent crime there?
Officers and agents. This is the work they wanted to do, and when you don't force them to politicize law enforcement and lie to federal courts to attack your political opponents and get secret search warrants and go spy on members on Congress, they get to go out into the streets and safeguard the community. Operation Summer Heat was our flagship program that the FBI led. And
Summer Heat.
These are the results when you put cops on the streets and let them do their job.
Can you explain? I mean, you went to Chicago today. I mean, how does Chicago have a homicide rate 5 times that of New York City, which does not particularly have a stellar record itself? So you're trying to help the people.
With martial law, with troops. Like, I don't know why people don't want troops on their streets. It's fucking.
Restore law and order, and so they can be safe and secure, as I said to Todd, so they can pursue happiness, you know, and you need law and order as a foundation, as a prerequisite. What did you see there? What did you learn there, except that you have a governor and a mayor that just don't...
All right, you get it. Title of this video is Patel Warns America. Accountability is coming, right? Accountability is coming, then we're all fucked, right? If accountability comes to America, then we're all fucked. Like, if real divine accountability comes down, we're pretty much all fucked. I haven't verified any of this. This is... Here.
This is Charlie Kirk's father, Robert Willard Kirk. He is the president of an
He looks like that guy, well, you can't see
architectural firm that once listed the Trump Tower in New York City among its projects. This professional link places the Kirk family's connection to Donald Trump decades before Charlie Kirk became a conservative activist and a staunch public ally of President Trump. Trump Tower is a gleaming glass skyscraper in the heart of Manhattan.
It's gleaming. I mean, I've been there before. It gleams. It's very gleamy. So I haven't verified any of this stuff, but, you know, sounds about right.
That once held the title of the tallest all-glass structure in New York City. When Charlie announced that he wanted to skip college to start a political organization, his parents Robert and Catherine Kirk were skeptical. They worried their son was giving up stability for uncertainty.
Exactly. That fucking, you never know what's going to happen. That, you know how his life's going to turn out. Like, you don't know, like, he's going to marry like an awesome woman, and he's going to have a big, giant $100 million company, and, you know, next thing you know, some transgender loving dude is going to...
Charlie pleaded for a chance to prove them wrong, asking his parents for just 90 days to launch his idea. From their suburban home in Chicago in 2012, at just 18 years old, Charlie founded Turning Point USA, a youth-oriented conservative movement that would soon become a powerhouse on college campuses.
Boom, it's a powerhouse.
Nationwide. Interestingly, it was Charlie's father, Robert Willard Kirk, who suggested the name Turning Point USA.
Boom.
This is Charlie Kirk.
There's his dad there. He looks like that old guy in The Office. Kind of explains a lot. But, you know, he did it. He fucking did it, and then he kind of didn't. Okay, so, let's check in with the Charlie Kirk show. Charlie Kirk, greatest abortion debater, leaves girl paralyzed from something. Only 29,000 views. So, you know, Charlie Kirk isn't bringing in the stuff if there's no nips. If the girl doesn't drop a nip. Charlie's old videos aren't popping. Bad Bunny gets canceled by TP USA. 3,000 views. We'll go look at that. Charlie Kirk endorsed by Nate Morris exposes Senator mass amnesty plan. 17,000 views. The channel's tanking here, right? they can't produce anything. The Martyr video was the only one that is still going a little bit. But the rest of the stuff, the leaked message, that's, dried up, and people aren't, Anyways, let's see what's happening here.
All right, welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. I'm Andrew Colvett, executive producer of this show, and I am excited this morning to be joined by an Arizona, I don't know, a native, a daughter of Arizona, a celebrity of Arizona. I don't know. What do you want to call?
Resident.
Yeah, there you go, resident of Arizona.
There's a lot of people that are just residents, as many people are from somewhere else than I am, but I've been here for over 20 years.
Well, there you go.
Boom.
Danica Patrick is in the
Boom.
house. So.
Former race car driver. Boom. They got Danica Patrick.
If you didn't,
she's living in Arizona.
Recognize her name, and I have our good friend Tyler Boyer, COO of Turning Point Action, in here as well.
Who is a native? But we count anyone that's been in Arizona for more than 10 years as a native. So
I love this qualification.
Exactly, boom. That's a great qualification. In God we trust. I think he's one of the guys that was going at it with Candace Owens on the.
Do not count. So
and now I play golf,
oddball.
so I really am a local.
That is true.
There's a lot of golf.
Oh my God, the banter is fucking incredible. So interesting. This definitely deserved 100,000 views.
There's a lot of golf courses, which you'd think, the water, I don't know, the heat, the grass, but it works. I don't know how you guys pull.
Yeah, it doesn't work because they're using up water that shouldn't be used up for golf because you live in the fucking desert. It's like 120 degrees there in the summer.
Split off in Arizona. Before we get into it with Danica here, which thank you so much again for just making it into the studio. It's always great to have people in the studio. We have to bring it up. It has to be the first thing. Go ahead and throw up 336. And the rumors are true. Jack Posobiec has manifested this via a joke and on this show that Turning Point USA will be hosting the All-American Halftime Show, a celebration of faith, family, and freedom. And that, of course, will be on 2/8.
666, right? 666. The F is the sixth letter of the alphabet. So my viewers point that out. Faith, family, freedom.
2026. If you want more details as they come, please go to AmericanHalftimeShow.com. American Halftime Show.
Because it's all the way in February. You guys aren't going to have a fucking business by then, right? You're going to have a shell of a shell right there.
So I know there's a lot of news in the world. There's the Gaza-Israel peace deal. There's Antifa. There's so many things we got to get to. There's, was it Luke Bryan? I always get the Bryans.
Like Charlie Kirk got killed, and it's a fake. They've got a patsy, and nobody, and Trump and his wife and all you guys are on board like that story, like Charlie Kirk's. There's a fucking bullshit, justice system going.
Zach Bryan, there's a Zach Bryan. We're gonna get to all of this, by the way, but I just want to throw it to you. You have existed at the nexus of pop culture, sports. So we've got Bad Bunny, who's gonna be
fucking Bad Bunny, man, that fucking guy.
Performing at the halftime show, the official one. I think we're going to get a lot of eyeballs on this event because of that selection of somebody who doesn't speak English and sings only in Spanish and seems to have a lot of disregard and contempt for our country. It's going to turn a lot of people off. What say you, Danica Patrick?
Well, I talked about this last week with Steve Bannon on his show War Room, and I had posted that I think that it's wrong that someone that doesn't speak English is performing at the halftime show for the Super Bowl for, I thought it was 100 million. I looked it up. It was like 127 million people to some degree watch this.
Okay, so you guys know why they do that, right? They want to get more Spanish viewers. That's why Justin Bieber performed with Bad Bunny or one of those fucking guys. Bad Bunny sucks as far as I know, but it's to get people from other countries, Spanish-speaking people. They realized they started to put these videos together. Remember they did it with that guy, that Korean guy, Psy, or whatever his name is, Justin Bieber's handler. And they had these mega videos because people in Latin America are a big audience, right? And so that's why they're doing this. It's not anything to do with, they're trying to expand the NFL all over the world and make it global. It's a business move. I don't ever watch the fucking halftime show. Like I watch for commercials. I tape the whole thing. We watch the commercials because the commercials, used to be good and now they're, sucky. But Super Bowl is, it's overrated. Anyways, just in case you really want to get bored and feel bummed out, you can turn into what will be like a ghost town at Turning Point USA, if they're even still alive by then as a company. Maybe Danica Patrick will show up.
Okay, so one thing I want to start off with is, why does your opinion trump over any other people's opinion?
Right. It's funny you use the word Trump.
Do you believe that there is a truth out there?
Everything is subjective, but there is a right or wrong morally, especially when you're in a cultured society that is based off a set of standards and norms that we act on and we act as.
So everything is subjective. So is it objectively true you and I are having a conversation right now?
Yes.
So that's not subjective then. So not everything is subjective.
So why do you believe morals?
Right? So something is objective.
Yes, but why do you believe your subjective opinion
get
trumps
there.
over other people's opinion?
Well, let me ask you another question. I'll tell you. I will answer.
Please don't interrupt me. You can. No, let me finish my sentence. I do not want to hear it. You think that your opinion is over other people's opinions. You think you were right subjectively.
Okay.
What is right or wrong?
Okay. Is murder wrong?
Yes, of course.
Well, then abortion should
Not
be
in
illegal.
every case.
Answer to question.
What constitutes a human? What is a human?
Deoxyribonucleic acid and conception.
But to me, a human.
So, I agree with this because life starts at conception. But, I disagree with this, right? It doesn't work. Now, people, we all know that you don't convert people by debating them. You know what I mean? You don't win people over. If debate was a solution, then the internet wouldn't suck as bad as it does. Like if you could just tell somebody they were full of shit and have them convert over your opinion, the internet would be a total success and humanity would be this glowing bastion of connectivity and consensus, right? But it's not, because people don't fucking want to be told they're wrong. It's what I was saying earlier with that woman who was saying, why won't you guys just pay attention to stuff that really matters? Well, because fucking people are sucky, right? Like, it's not, we're doomed. Like, fucking, humanity sucks, right? They're not, people aren't looking to change. What makes you think people are looking to change? People, only when they're forced to change. Like, they have to go through desperate circumstances. They have to be forced to change. People will better themselves in a craft or in a way for their, personal gain. Sometimes they'll lose weight or something. But, for the most part, people don't change, right? People, especially internally. People don't like to change their point of views.
Would be someone with a consciousness who is alive in this world.
Well,
to
guess
you,
what? You're wrong. So
but
that's
no,
fine.
you're wrong, because I think that's right and you think that's
Prove
right.
me. Prove it wrong.
What constitutes a human being? What is the definition of a human being?
The creation of DNA that will never exist again, and a soul goes into that moment. I don't expect you guys.
What's a soul?
A soul?
What's a soul?
What is a soul?
What is a soul?
The eternal, indistinguishable, let's just say non-visible being of your existence.
I don't believe that. I don't believe anything is eternal.
That does not make yours a
Yeah,
Well, hold on a second. Here's the thing. At some point, somebody's truth has to win. Because guess what? Your truth doesn't matter. That's still a truth
You've
claim.
had your truth in this country for the past thousands of decades.
Thousands of decades?
Not thousands. Whatever. My bad. That's a little embarrassing. But your truth has been the narrative of this country forever. You think
Roe
yes,
versus
the
Wade
white
just
straight
got
male
repealed.
truth,
Abortion was legal in this country for 40 years.
And before the 40 years, what was it?
And crime dropped
Thankfully illegal in
40%
most
after it
And
went.
on top of that,
Oh, wait, hold on. Do you think abortion lowers crime rates?
Crime dropped 40% after abortion became legal.
Why is that the case?
It's called a statistic.
Who has the most abortions in America?
Women.
Black people. Is that so? Are you trying to say the termination of blacks in the womb lower crime? That's a very racist argument.
That is not
okay.
Blacks.
That's actually pretty funny, but
blacks have 45% of
Blacks.
I would suggest using African American. Blacks. What? Okay.
Sir, that's a leading question.
Huh?
Sir, that's a leading question.
You guys can come up and talk if you want. Yeah, it's like it's 95 degrees out here, man. So, yes, sir.
That's a racist.
No, you're the racist. You're the says that abortion lowers crime rates and blacks have the most abortions in the country. Yes. It's not name calling. Wait, is it not Black Lives Matter or is it African American Lives Matter? It's both. Oh, really? Okay, I thought it was BLM, so I say blacks. Okay.
He was just, okay, not too much, Andrew. Do you believe that you have some sort of privilege that skews your view on other people's lives? Because
Okay, so this is like horrible. I don't know why I'm watching it. It's like a train wreck, right? You know, this is, and most of these people don't agree with him. So I don't know which college campus was, like where all the kids with Trump hats that we usually see. But I don't know where the girl gets paralyzed. It's only 3 minutes into this thing. But somehow she gets paralyzed from his argument here. But they're not agreeing. Let's just go to the end here, see if there's paralyzed there.
Don't describe him correctly as being violent, right? That was a very small part of his literature. He was very big on trying to get Black America to succeed despite despite the white liberal.
yes.
And
Not the white liberal.
he did say white liberal. Oh, you go look up the Malcolm X white liberal quote. And so I think that's interesting. Just think about it. Go look up what Malcolm X warned against white liberals owning Black America.
She's raising her hand. Like, you're already fucked because you're raising your hand. You're making him the authority, right? Like he's the teacher.
For their own gain,
So-
which is exactly what BLM is.
Okay, so back to my initial point. Back to my initial.
And I think Malcolm X could teach us a lot right now. Yes.
What do you think about like the 1960s and 70s militarization of the police, the shift in the police?
Yeah, I mean, I'm generally very pro-police. What about the military? I mean,
What?
the question is what came first, and I honestly don't know the answer. Was it the rise in crime, or was it the increase? Was it the
Well,
police that went into the
If
inner
you knew what
community?
you were talking about, you would know the answer.
Yeah, it's not so clear.
Yeah,
Because there was a massive crime wave in the early.
It's just shitty, right? Like, it's just, whatever they're doing here. I mean, it's just shitty, right? Like, just college kids are obnoxious, and so is Charlie Kirk. And, there's nothing happened here other than there seemed to be a group of angry dudes, mostly white dudes, that ended up liking Trump, the insults, and then Charlie Kirk had an audience, and somehow, they started to vote for Trump, and then that was the thing, now he's dead. Like, so, but this video got 30,000 views, so now without a nip slip, Charlie Kirk can't pull in the views anymore, even post from the grave, or maybe not the grave, because there's no burial site. Okay, so this Bruce Willis looking motherfucker, one of my viewers just sent a message, comment about this. It popped up on my phone, and I should have taken a picture of it because I could read it to you here, but the person basically said that Vivek Ramaswamy went to Bozeman, Montana, and he had himself a Turning Point event. It's on his channel, Vivek Ramaswamy, and they brought back Charlie Kirk.
Work here on earth. Please give Erika the strength and wisdom she needs and surround her with people to support and uphold
Watch,
her.
he shakes his head no when he says this. Look at these motherfucking no shaking head people.
Prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for Charlie Kirk and his work here on earth.
Heavenly Father, come on, bro. You only know there's one son of Jesus. There's one son of God, Heavenly Father. You're not just adopted, bro. There's only one son of God, bro. He's not your dad. Fuck you, Governor of Montana. Usurping Jesus' position like that.
Please give Erika the strength and wisdom she needs and surround her with people
Shaking his head no.
to support and uphold her. We pray for the Turning Point team and the tremendous opportunity
Look at them praying.
in front of them.
Look at them all praying together.
For
prayers.
each person within my hearing, to honor Charlie's life, I pray that we...
My name is Charlie Kirk, and I love America.
Boom, he does. He loves America.
Because I love talking with people I disagree with. Started an organization that's now in 1,000.
I love talking to people I disagree with. I love paralyzing them. I love it when they slip their nipples out.
Plus campuses to save the greatest culture and country ever to exist.
Our family's divided. We're divided the same way the nation is divided. Will anything ever be remedied? A nation
Okay, so which side is this person on?
divided against itself will not stand, neither will a family divided against itself.
Why do you think your son is conservative? You as a father should listen to your son.
I used to be, at one point, on my father's side. Upon doing my own research and seeing things firsthand, I've switched sides. We talk every day about politics to the point where it's divided us.
Father-son divide is more important than politics. Really try to come down at what generational perspective do they...
And, you know, maybe if the dad got some neck tattoos, maybe if he got some neck tattoos, why don't you suggest it, Charlie?
have never let politics get in the way of the beautiful relationship between father and son.
Oh, just amazing. Just great. What a wonderful wisdom person.
Question for you is, do you have any hate against the LGBT community?
How could I hate that which I have a heart for? I might not agree at that for some of the lifestyle choices that some people make, but of course not. And if someone said, Charlie, what's your view on marriage? I say, I believe marriage is between one man.
Why they gotta play this fucking music?
A great example of it, right? I think that
this music is just so off-putting. And they bring out this fucking guy.
Today is October 7th. 2 years ago today, a group of terrorists abroad killed 1,200 innocent human beings.
Exactly. And then they went out and killed 600,000 innocent human beings. We don't talk about that day. Because that was over a lot of days. It's just not on one day. I mean, they did it on one day. And, you know, and and Israel did it on a bunch of days. So, like, we don't talk about that. All right. So, this got almost 1 million views. It's on Vivek Ramaswamy's page. So I don't know if Turning Point got some love or from money from this. It was the governor of Montana and Charlie with some music behind him. They're playing clips of Charlie. They're going to do that a lot. Jesus Christ. Let me go to the comments. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit shorter of a video. I fucked up my knee. I don't know really how. Like twisted it. I have these weird kind of things that are happening all the time. Where I like physically get hurt and then it just sort of all disappears. It like just goes away after a while. And so I'm hoping that's the case with that one. Just a few comments to get to. The person says, the narrator of this piece is morally bankrupt. That would be me. I'm the narrator. You know, no context to the comment, but they make it sound like you're not going to read it. Like when people leave comments and with the idea that you're not going to read your comment, or like, you know, I mean, they're talking about you in the third person and like more than anybody else, it's you who's more likely to read their comment than anybody else. Like there are comments that only I read. You know, I mean, who reads all 100 or so comments, 160 some comments per video? Like on my videos, let me switch over there. I'm getting 102 comments to my last video, 130 to ones before that, 114, 176, 159, 151, 164, 131. And so, you know, there's a couple hundred comments that come in every day. Some of the comments got 242, 231, 375. There was a video that got 920 comments. So almost 1,000 comments, and who's going to read all of them but me, right? Like I'm the only one. So, you know, this guy, that narrator, that narrator guy, like no one else read it but me. So Candace Owens' latest video, she talks about the miracle bullet. Remember they had this miracle bullet that somehow Charlie It was supposed to be a 30-06 bullet that would easily go through a couple of mooses, but Charlie had extra strength density to his bones. And then remember, they claimed that miraculously he somehow wouldn't let the bullet go through him and it hit somebody else. And so she said that she has the report and somebody leaked it to her, and she has some kind of official thing that she's not, putting out there yet. But, again, I mean, she's just whatever she is and like whatever. But what she said was that he was shot from the front, that there was a bullet fragment, the bullet didn't go through, and it wasn't a 30-06. So the kid's rifle, which, he's no longer, I mean, that takes out the murder weapon. They have a bullshit confession on social media, and that weird love letter he wrote to his boyfriend that seems completely suspect and not believable. And then they have a gun that was his grandfather's gun. I mean, the story changes a lot in these things. I'm not an expert. I don't know that much about the story, but they somehow he put the gun together with a screwdriver. He had it, and it was disassembled. And, like they have whatever Allen wrenches or tools, whatever goes into whatever they're using for their hardware. And he had put it together with a screwdriver, which seemed, there was a lot of things that made the story bullshit. But if that gun doesn't fire a 22, it was a 22 that went in and stopped, right, would be a small caliber bullet, right? A BB, or prosthetics or whatever it is. But she's claiming that they have, there's nothing on there's no, they're not saying that the gun was, having a bullet would be forensic evidence, right? This bullet was found, it had Charlie's blood on it, was found on the stage, right? The compromised crime scene. But, apparently he did get shot in the front, according to her. The angle of the bullet was not severe enough. If he was coming from, the bullet would be going down, and it seemed to hit directly behind where his shoulders are, the bone structure that you have that goes across your back, your shoulders, and your spine. So she said it was hit somewhere around there. So that would mean that maybe the bullet was going slightly down, but not, from some rooftop. So, there's that. She is whatever she is, and the story is whatever it is. But if that's the case, then they should come out and, the thing is, when you claim that there was a miracle bullet that would have went through 3 mooses and 4 elk, but somehow Charlie's magical bone structures, his miracle bone structure, saved someone else from getting killed, because that's the kind of guy Charlie was. When he takes bullets, he doesn't release them. He can't stop it from going in, but he can stop it from going out, because, it's a miracle bullet. And when you say stupid shit like that, like you're trying to make him into something he isn't, and then you get the evidence that isn't the case, and that evidence actually exonerates the kid that, Erika Kirk has forgiven, and Trump says he hopes he gets the death penalty, right, who is, not a person of, like I said earlier on, Trump wants this kid killed. He's just a patsy. There's just no real evidence, and they'll just push him through because it's just some made-up bullshit thing. The trial, whatever, won't be public. And, I mean, I guess, if everyone's watching this, and so I don't, they're kind of fucked. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Because, they can have a closed trial and put it through and just convict this guy and give him the fucking death sentence. They probably will just lock him up for life, and, he'll disappear if he actually is, if he's not just some operative that, they pretend he's in jail or whatever. Who the fuck knows, right? But anyways, of course that story's falling apart, the bullet story. So there was that. Then there was these comments here. Some of them had to do, some person just wrote, "You suck," and the person responded below them, "You blow." Somebody was saying to me, "You suck," and then someone wrote, "You blow." So it's not like an exchange. They sacrifice Kirk. This is who Judas, Charlie Kirk, Erika Trump, BB, TPSU, or all of the above. They sacrificed Kirk in a way that divided the right, made people even more suspicious of Israel, made Trump further question the credibility of the administration, and also further divided the left and right. Great comment, right? I agree with everything this person said so far. I have a theory who have pulled it off, and they have wanted to collapse or control the U.S. since we fought from our independence from them. Okay, you were just right there. You had made very valid sound points. And then you bring in England. You're saying England was the one who killed Charlie Kirk? They're the ones who... Well, it's not Israel, like, who has a clear motive, or any number of other, I don't know, reasonable ideas about this thing. But you're saying England pulled this off, right? So, anything like this, if it happened from a foreign government, let's say China did it, or any, Germany or freaking Australia, who knows? America, unless they were like covering up for that country, it's like an act of war. Like, imagine if it was a foreign government other than Israel. I mean, if it's Israel, it's the worst because of Charlie's relationship with them. Like, after, taking so much money from them and shilling for them and all that shit that happened, for them to go and do that to him, that would be really bad. If it comes out, like, purposefully, like they want this to come out purposefully, and Candace Owen is, a shill for this, this relationship to go south. I mean, who the fuck knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? What's divinely orchestrated and what are they controlling? But if the government decides to put out a patsy and not tell the American people the truth, and his wife and his business people, his buddies at his TPUSA go along with it, like, holy shit, right? And so if it's a foreign government, like, America has to figure that out, and then they have to utilize that information in a way. And to put out a patsy, I mean, like, that whole thing's fucked. Like, if the official story isn't the story, this is a bad one. To the same video, this channel is just weird, totally obsessed with Charlie Cook. Took him like 50 minutes to get to the point of his video. When it comes to cuckoo Candace Owen, she's gone cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs ever since she became a Roman Catholic. 3 emojis with laughing with tears coming out. Like, that's just a lame-ass comment, right? If you're going to invoke cuckoo with Cocoa Puffs, right, you shouldn't probably comment here because, like, you're just below average burn. Like, you could say Candace Owen is a shill and she's controlled opposition. That would be like what most people would say. But, like, that's already, I'm not disputing that. But, like, in terms of this battle between Turning Point and her, she's the entertainment, right? She's the, they're the dumbasses just going along and, like, failing. I mean, I like watching shit fucking collapse and fail. Like, it's just something I find funny, especially when it's like something sucky, right? But she's tagging them, like, they're in a battle, and she's like, winning that thing. And whether they're all shills for the show and this is all purposeful or not, that's, more than likely the case. So, whatever. You don't even have to say anything about that. Like, no one's going to buy encyclopedias from her, I mean, you shouldn't trust her. Well, I mean, who are you going to trust, right? Like, what does that mean? You're going to leave her to house sit for you? Like, I don't know what that even means. But if you say that someone's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you're like a very low IQ person, low consciousness person. Like, it's not a good burn. Like, you need better quality. If you're going to mock somebody, be, like, good at it. Like, you're just don't say anything. It's just better for you if you do. Or go to dumb fuckistan. That's a dumb fuckistan comment. A couple of beta males sharing a testicle. And wrote that with a bunch of laughing emojis. When I heard that come back to me, because I said it, like, I just started cracking up. It was something I said, someone repeats it back. But sometimes I say something, and, like, in the moment, it's funny, but not really as funny as it is when somebody says it back to me. For anyone who doesn't know, the shekel is an ancient coin, but it's also a modern paper fiat currency. The modern shekel replaced the Israeli pound in 1980, and the modern shekel was replaced in 1985 by the new shekel due to hyperinflation. you know what? Like, just don't take the fucking fun out of shekels with this kind of bullshit, right? Like who are you to come in here? I mean, I got so many comments about shekeling. You know, that person got sheckled. I mean, it's a good word. It's a good term that I've made up here. And, you know, like, who needs to, we don't have to know history of the fucking shekel. Like, she got shekels, right? It's like, you know, just don't be a fucking buzzkill. You're forgetting Ukraine. They might be getting jealous. Funds are low. You mean about Charlie Kirk being killed by the Ukraine? Like, that's the dumbest. Like, when people say you're forgetting, you want me to mention fucking everything? Yeah, and Planet Mars might have done it, and, you know, they're pretty angry over there, and, you know, the Japanese, you know, because of World War II, they might have killed them. And, you know, the British, they're still mad about the revolution, and, you know, Charlie reminded them of that. You know, like, fucking, what are you talking about, the Ukraine? Like, don't forget, you're forgetting the Ukraine. What fucking, maybe it was Kamala Harris. You know, like, you expect me to mention every possible person out there? John Smith might have done it. Joe Jones, you know. I mean, like, just weird fucking stupid shit like that. I'm not forgetting anything. I'm just talking about what's, like, on the table to talk about. This person wrote, this isn't Charlie Kirk's #1 video for a reason of substance. Oh, this is going back to the whole idea of the whatever it is. So a lot of people are very happy with the shekel thing. I think I have a few more comments about the shekel. That's not the comment there. I'm going to read that for my next video. That's not it either. Let me see where it is here. There is... it's like I'd like to nominate Sheckled Up as 2025's phrase of the year. Yeah, it's just a great word, sheckled. You got sheckled. I mean, it's something that I found humorous back when people were getting sheckled. You're wrong about the Middle East being at war for 3,000 years. It saw a really peaceful period for 1,000 years until Zionism showed up. Well, I don't know if there was Zionism 1,000 years ago. That seems like a modern day thing because no one was trying to claim Israel again. You know, the thing is, like, I don't know. Like, 3,000 fucking years ago. I mean, we can't get accurate information from today. Like, you know, like, you make it sound like there's some facts out there. Like, 3,000 years ago, there's a person named Abraham, going back to the Abraham Accord by Trump, right? The Abraham Accords, which is just some bullshit thing. There's a guy named Abraham. He was essential to the Jewish Bible, and, you know, he had a good relationship with a demon that they call God in that fucking piece of shit book. And he had 2 kids, one by his wife Rachel and one by, what's her name, Hagar. And one of them was Isaac, and the other one was, I believe, Ishmael. My name is Ishmael from the Moby Dick. And Ishmael and Isaac had beef. Right, one was represent Arabs and one represented the Jews. From that time, 3,000 years ago, till now, they've been beefing, and you know, like, there is not some period of time where they weren't beefing, at least on some level, right? And so, who knows? It's a 3,000-year-old thing. Those guys could have not existed at all, right? I mean, just think about 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And so we can't get accurate information from what happened yesterday. So, I mean, who the fuck knows about any of it? But they have been beefing my whole life, right? So, in 1945, they made Israel. And my entire life, which is, I was born in 1964, 20 years after that. So, for at least 80 years, they've been beefing. And the beef was even before that. So, you know, like, even if it's a 100-year beef, who gives a shit? You know, just, like, leaving stupid-ass comments like that. Like, nobody really knows. That's the thing. The same comment I pulled up again. You got sheckled up, somebody said with a smiley face. Yeah, sheckled, you know. Hilarious Baldwin was below that. But anyways, you know, shekels is, getting sheckled is, you know, my contribution to this whole thing. And, you know, the spirituality stuff. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount and definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.